All right, Larry Krueger here from the Pig and a Pickle Crew Show with a little 49er video as John Lynch spoke this morning for the first time since the big trade that brought Chase Young to the 49ers, and we'll talk about it next. And of course, Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out in Emeryville and Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Also, this video is brought to you by Mojo Fantasy. Check that link in the description. Make sure you use the promo code KRUEG, KRUEG, and they'll match you up to $100 on your first deposit. And everybody who joins will automatically be entered into a chance to win a Bosa or a Purdy jersey on Thanksgiving night in our post-game show after Niners Hawks from Seattle. All right, let's talk a little bit about John Lynch. He spoke today, bright and early this morning, got on the conference call with the media and talked for the first time since the 49ers traded for Chase Young. And, um, I think there was a lot of interesting revelations in this presser today. There were some reports that that there were character concerns with Chase Young. And Lynch addressed that today. He says, I think highly of Chase. The people who I respect in that Washington building think highly of him. I know Nick Bosa thinks highly of him. That means a lot to us because Nick's words are never hollow. So they feel like they got a pretty good handle on who Chase Young is and that he, is a fit for their culture. They have obviously the 49ers have a defensive line coach in Chris Kosarek that's done incredible things for many other defensive ends. And if Kosarek can get the most out of Chase Young, that's great news for the 49ers. So they feel good about that aspect of things. Now, there was also a report yesterday and this is why these pressers are so important because you just never know what's truth, what's fallacy, what's urban legend, urban myth, I should say. And John Lynch said yesterday that there were reports that the Niners were close to a trade for New York Giants cornerback Adoree Jackson. And Lynch put that to rest and said, not true. Not true at all. They were never close to a deal for Adoree Jackson. So, that was the report that, they had a deal with the Giants for Adoree Jackson, and the Giants just didn't file the paperwork with the league in time. And it's amazing when you think about the detail of which these myths get out. And John said, no, that's not true at all. We didn't have a deal for Adoree Jackson. So, think about that. Not only was there a report that the Niners and Giants had made a trade, but that it fell short because the Giants had failed to file the paperwork or alert the league in a proper amount of time. Lynch says no, not true at all. So it's amazing how that story had legs yesterday and just people kept running with it. Probably the most important detail that came out of the Lynch presser was how it pertains to the 49ers in-house options at cornerback now that they have not added a cornerback. I think a lot of people were thinking, you know what, the Niners, will add Jalen Johnson, or people were dreaming for Patrick Surtain. And even all I think the reaction to Chase Young was kind of lukewarm when you really think of how little the 49ers traded, how great a player this guy is, his age, so on and so forth. You would think people would have been doing cartwheels, but everybody was waiting on, well, what are they going to do at corner? They need a corner. They have D linemen. They need a corner. And when that corner need didn't get filled in the trade market, people were like, I don't know, Chase Young. I thought that was funny. But anyway, the revelation today from John Lynch during the presser is that Samuel Womack and Darrell Luter Jr., who are both on the Niner roster, and players that the Niners drafted, Luter just in this last draft, Womack 2 drafts ago, are both on the verge of having their practice windows opened again, according to John Lynch. So this is really good news. To me, I thought Samuel Womack was one of the 4 or 5 most impressive players that I saw all summer. Um, he made tons of plays. He flew around. He looked faster. He looked more knowledgeable in the defense. He wasn't thinking. This is a guy last year that almost had a couple pick sixes. I think he gets those pick sixes this year. Womack has got a lot of talent. This guy went from walk on at Toledo to all conference in the MAC. So it's a rarity right there. You just don't see that. I mean, guys who are walk-ons in college, no scholarship, and they don't just earn a scholarship or a starting job, but an all-conference nod by the time they're out of there. So, Womack is a really good little player for sure. He's small, but he can really cover. And that's to me, who are the Niners' three best corners? Because you got to get your three best corners on the field before we can evaluate this thing. It's Ward, it's Lenore, and it's Womack. Those are their three best corners, in my opinion, right now, as far as guys who are ready to play and can mirror NFL receivers up and down the field. If you want to have the tightest coverage possible, I think you got to go Mooney, Lenore, and Womack. Womack and Ward outside, Lenore inside. So the fact that Womack's on the verge of having his practice window opened, that's great news. Now, the other name there is not just a throwaway either. Darrell Luter Jr. Looked phenomenal in the mini camp. I mean, really good. And for South Alabama, he played press man exclusively. I mean, when they played off coverage on the other side, he was hugged up on the line of scrimmage in press man. When they played cloud or a zone on the other side, Luter was hugged up in press man. I asked him during the mini camp, I said, there's a bunch of different coverages. What do you feel most comfortable? Before I could even get the question out, he's like, I like to be on the line of scrimmage in press man. Now, he's got really long arms. I mean, like 33.5-inch arms for Luter Jr. So you're talking about a guy who should have an ability to really hug up on receivers and reroute them. And I'm hoping for the home run ball, which is that not only is this, I mean, I know he's got the athleticism. I know he's got the brain for it. I know he's got the instincts for it, the experience in college. The guy played a lot of football. He's very mature. He's married with a child. I know he's got what it takes. The question is, how long will it take for him to adapt? How quickly can he contribute at the NFL level? I'm hoping for the home run. I'm hoping Luter is not just, physically and mentally and exactly what you're looking for. In some ways, he's the prototype. He's big with long arms and he has the ability to play press man and shut you down at the line of scrimmage and really get in your face. Could have helped a lot against Cincinnati last week had he been healthy. I'm hoping he's ready to go. Because if he is, you're talking about a player who might be able to play quite a bit and maybe quite effectively as a rookie. So that's really the best news of the entire Lynch presser is that, yeah, they didn't get a corner in a trade, but that their two internal candidates who both have starter potential in Womack and Luter are both on the verge of their practice windows being opened. And that means their return to the field is probably just around the corner. So that was the big revelation for sure in this presser. Um, and then there were some other interesting aspects of this. Dave Lombardi tweeted out that the 49er conversation about Chase Young with Washington, of course, and he points out that the Commanders GM is the former Niner executive Martin Mayhew. And so once again, it's like Lynch having these key relationships around the league probably helped him make the deal. But supposedly the dialogue started several weeks back. Lynch didn't think anything would come to fruition until yesterday. Lynch emphasized how important relationships are for these deals. Him and Mayhew are former teammates. And Dave says, I think this is a critical component of the 49ers' successful wheeling and dealing over the years, that Lynch has a great network of relationships around the NFL. Yeah, this is where being social and having friends and having open dialogue and trust with who you are as a football person and your reputation within the game really benefits the Niners for having a guy like John Lynch. He knows Scott Fitterer. He knows several of the GMs around the league, and he can facilitate these kinds of deals. And there is a trust there. So I thought that was kind of a key component. Then, the other thing that I think is kind of interesting is that even though they went outside the building to get help, John Lynch said, hey, everyone needs to look inward, not outward, to fix our pass rush. The answers are right here in this building. So he's challenging the guys that are there to get better. It's not just like, hey, you know what? Here comes Chase Young. He's going to save everybody. Everybody in there needs to dial it up. So there's no question about that. And then I thought one of the other really interesting things was another Lombardi tweet about how the trend in the NFL is changing. It used to be you rarely saw trades. There were 15 trades yesterday. He was asked about the 49ers' annual aggressiveness in the trade market, and Lynch discussed how Moneyball has moved to the NFL. He says, I came in here 7 years ago. Football traditionally is we don't do things like that because we never have. Well, I don't know what happened. There was a new generation of younger general managers probably watching the other sports, basketball and baseball, saying, why not in our league? So I think this is a trend that you're going to see more of in the years ahead. I think you're going to see more wheeling and dealing from general managers than you typically have. It used to be, hey, you build in the off season and through the draft, and you build your team, I build my team, and let's see what happens. Now it's like, hey, you know what? Teams are much more open to the idea of trading. And I think you're going to see more and more trades as time goes on because the trend is has changed. Now it's like, hey, you know what? Um, Teams are going to look to accelerate their offseason if they're not contenders. Teams that are contenders are going to look to maximize their opportunity to win a Super Bowl inside their window. And I think you're going to see more trading. The other thing I thought was kind of interesting is that John said, hey, you know what? We've done so much trading in recent years that there's a little pressure now to get things done because people are expecting the 49ers to consummate a trade and to make a move and to add to their mix. Last year was McCaffrey. To this year, it's Chase Young. As far as why did the Niners make the deal, I think it's pretty obvious. The Niners ranked 24th in pressure percentage at 26% and 18th in sacks. And through 8 games, the non-Bosa defensive ends, Cleveland Farrell, Drake Jackson, Kerry Hyder, who's now departed, and the new Randy Gregory, the quartet has combined for 5.5 sacks and only 22 pressures. They need to get more out of their defensive line than they're getting right now, and they're inside their Super Bowl window. So it makes all the sense in the world. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krug Show. Thanks to Mojo Fantasy. Check that link in the description. Make sure you use the promo code Krug, Krueg, and get up to $100 matched on your first deposit and get in the running for a Bosa or a Purdy jersey on Thanksgiving night. And thanks to all you guys for supporting the 27,000 subscriber and growing Krug Show on YouTube.